Hello, pattern readers. In case you don't know me, I'm Rebecca, and this is Reading the Pattern. Wheel of Time is my obsession. Maybe it's yours too, or maybe you're looking for a new one, in which case, welcome aboard. There's plenty of room in this Tinker caravan. I'm here to tell you everything you need to know about the soon-to-be-released TV adaptation of The Wheel of Time, but with no spoilers. So if you have been hearing about the show, but you have questions, what is it going to be about? How can you watch it? What will the first season cover? Who is involved? How close will it be to the books and more? This is the video for you. I'm going to try to cover everything that is essential for you to know to watch this show and understand it, and without going into any book spoilers. The show will be available to stream on Amazon Prime Video starting on November 19th. That's a Friday. We don't have the exact time of release yet. That's something I will update you on. But they are going to drop the first 3 episodes on that initial date. So you'll be able to watch episodes 1, 2, and 3 as a binge. And then from there on out, there will be episodes dropping weekly. And there are 8 roughly 1-hour episodes in the first season. So the final episode will air on Friday, December 24th. In case you don't already know, the second season has already been ordered and is currently being filmed primarily in the Czech Republic. So that shows good confidence on the part of Amazon for the show finding an audience. We finally got the first trailer for season 1. So hopefully there's going to be more and more hype building for the show leading up to release. I'll link that for you, so make sure you watch it if you haven't already. And I am going to be using clips of it in this video. Some of you might be wondering, what exactly is the Wheel of Time? What does that phrase mean? In the series, the whole of existence, past, present, and future, is called the pattern, which is made up of threads, which are people's lives. The concept is that there is a wheel of time, which weaves the pattern, and the threads it uses are people's lives. Each age, of which there are 7, that reoccur in a cyclical fashion, has its own pattern of an age. 3 things are said to exist outside of the pattern: the creator who made the wheel, the Dark One, who has been imprisoned outside of the pattern since the moment of creation, and the One Power, which is what drives the wheel. Think of water turning a water wheel. The One Power is also the source of magic in the world, which channelers like Aes Sedai are able to access. Usually the pattern is woven without any regard to its effect on individual lives, but at times it needs correction, and then an individual thread is created to be Ta'viren, which becomes a focal point for the pattern, and that person influences other lives and events. In case you've never read the books, here is a little summary of what the show is going to be about. We expect the first season's main plot to follow Moiraine, a member of the female-only order of magic users called Aes Sedai. Aes Sedai are masters at channeling a force known as the One Power. But at this time, men are no longer able to safely access and channel this power. The male half of the One Power was tainted by an evil known as the Dark One thousands of years before, which led men who used the power to go mad and resulted in a catastrophe called the Breaking, which destroyed a society and very nearly the world. The world now is in a kind of post-apocalyptic recovery, but much knowledge was lost. And Aes Sedai, in part, aim to prevent further destruction by hunting down men who can channel and stripping them of their abilities, a process which can turn fatal. One such man is Logain, who is a powerful channeler and has declared himself to be a reincarnation of the dragon, also called the Dragon Reborn, a sort of messiah figure, but one feared and hated for his role in the Breaking. While some of Moiraine's sisters are involved in trying to bring down Logain, Moiraine has another agenda. She travels to a remote area called the Two Rivers, where she rescues a handful of young villagers when creatures of the Dark One attack, along with her warder, Lan. Warders are trained fighters, sworn to and magically bonded to an Aes Sedai. His duty is to protect her life and support her mission, and he would be willing to literally die to do so if necessary. Lan is exceptionally skilled as a fighter and tracker. He speaks little and observes everything. Both Moiraine and Lan are layered characters that we only see the surface of initially. The bond between Aes Sedai and Warder is one we don't entirely understand at first, and aspects of it are closely guarded secrets. Both receive benefits or enhanced abilities, but it is also not without risk. Neither of them entered this arrangement lightly. Together, Moiraine and Lan convince these 5 young villagers to leave their home, and Moiraine becomes a sort of guide figure for them. But they do not trust her. She is a stranger who keeps her secrets and is capable of power that is feared and misunderstood. She always appears poised and in control and more knowledgeable than she necessarily reveals. Part of this is her Aes Sedai training, and part of it is her cultural upbringing. But slowly learning what lies beneath Moiraine's exterior is what makes her such a fascinating character. This group begins a journey together that will either save or destroy humanity. Let's talk a bit more about those villagers. The Two Rivers is an isolated area of only a few small villages that essentially govern themselves. The people there are known for being highly independent, hardworking, resilient, and stubborn. The 5 young protagonists are in their 20s and have spent their entire lives in the Two Rivers, and they basically have little to no idea of what actually goes on in the rest of the continent. News comes to them only by way of word of mouth from the occasional peddler. Nynaeve Almira holds the title of Wisdom in her village. She is the most important woman in the community, equal in standing to the mayor, and she leads the women's circle. A wisdom also provides healing and can listen to the wind or provide forecasts for weather and crops. It is extremely unusual for a woman as young as Nynaeve to hold this role, which speaks to her exceptional talents, but it also means she's had to deal with her authority being questioned. Nynaeve is short-tempered and is often seen with a firm grip on that glorious braid. But she's also extremely dedicated to her people and willing to go to any lengths to protect them. Matt, short for Matrim Cawthon, is known as the trickster of the group. He's really rather infamous in his small village for his pranks and jokes and is generally considered an irresponsible, troublemaking kind of guy. Probably the most notable thing about Matt's character from the beginning is that you should pay close attention to the things he says and thinks about himself and what he actually does, since the two often don't match up. Another thing that sets Matt apart is he truly is eager to see the world outside of the Two Rivers and longs for adventure, riches, and excitement much more than his friends. Egwene Elvire is the youngest daughter of the town's mayor, and her parents also run the town's only inn. Egwene has ambition and longs to learn more of the world, but she also considers becoming an apprentice to Nynaeve to become a wisdom like her. She has a friendship with Nynaeve, and their friendship will sort of come up against a struggle as they become equals once they are outside of the Two Rivers, no longer acting as wisdom and apprentice. Egwene is the kind of young person who chafes at being kept back from trying everything she's capable of, and is determined to prove herself with each new challenge she faces. Her strongest and most defining trait is her unquenchable thirst to learn. Any new culture, ability, or place is fascinating to her, and she instantly wants to learn and absorb all that she can from them. Egwene and Rand al'Thor have a close relationship also. In the books, it is expected but not officially decided that they will get married one day. Given that the characters' ages have been increased slightly for the show, it's possible that they will be officially betrothed in the show, but we'll have to wait and see. Rand is a farmer and sheep herder, along with his father, Tam al'Thor. Tam essentially raised him as a single father because Rand's mother, Kari, died when Rand was very young. Rand is, like his father, level-headed, observant, hardworking, and has a gentle demeanor. He's fascinated by the few books and adventure stories he has access to, but he doesn't really have a desire to venture outside of the world that he knows. He has a strong moral compass and an instinctive bend towards leadership, though he probably would not recognize that in himself. Finally, Perrin Ibarra. In the books, he starts as an apprentice blacksmith, but given the slight increase in age, he might be a master in the show, and he has the strong physique that makes him equal to the craft. Because of his size and strength, he has always been keenly aware of his ability to hurt others if he's not careful. But the thing is, Perrin tries to be extremely careful, because he is aware of this, and he wants to avoid hurting anyone. He's not only careful in his physicality, but also in his thinking. But he has a passionate side as well that he often keeps tamped down. Like Rand, he would not really consider himself a leader in any way, and yet he has the mind for it. The Aes Sedai will play an important part in this season and throughout the series. They belong to an organization called the White Tower, located in the island city of Tar Valon, and they are divided into smaller groups called ajahs. As we can see here, the 7 ajahs are represented by the colors red, gray, yellow, blue, white, brown, and green. The red ajah's mission is to track down and neutralize men who can channel the male half of the one power before they go mad and cause destruction. By cutting off the men's ability to access the one power, they protect the world. But the men themselves enter a deep depression that most do not survive. The Red Ajah also sets themselves apart as the only Ajah that chooses to bond no warders. The Gray Ajah are interested in politics, law, diplomacy, and consensus. So they work as political advisors and mediators and diplomats and so on. They have been involved in crafting major treaties along with different political and military factions. They also can be involved in administering the law wherever they happen to be located, and some are even skilled in investigation of criminal matters. Yellows are primarily focused on healing. They use the one power to heal physical illness and injury, but they can also pursue healing in a less literal sense to fix or set right anything that is broken. The blue Ajah, as exemplified by Moiraine, are known for being seekers after causes. We can think of them as the most political of the ajahs, and they're very influential in both following and affecting trends happening throughout the world. They see themselves as righting wrongs, but others might be less righteous in what they're fighting for. There's a lot of leeway in what causes they might choose to fight for. The white ajah dedicates themselves to pursuit of logic, philosophy, and truth. They tend to ignore social causes and more worldly knowledge, so they're passionate about the pursuit of the truth, but otherwise appear almost ascetic and cool in their behavior. Brown sisters are committed to gaining and passing on knowledge, so they're researchers, librarians, teachers, scientists, historians. Whatever branch or branches of knowledge they choose to pursue is entirely up to them. Browns have a reputation of becoming so absorbed in their intellectual pursuits that they can become distant from the demands of the world. Finally, the green Ajah is also called the battle Ajah because they train in using the one power for combat against the shadow, or forces of the being of evil known as the Dark One. Another feature of the Green Ajah is that members can choose to bond multiple warders, as many as they wish, whereas most Ajahs limit themselves to one at a time. In the Green Ajah, it is also not unheard of for Aes Sedai to have romantic or sexual relationships with their warders. Each Ajah has 3 sitters in the Hall of the Tower, which are leadership positions. But there is also, separate and above all the other Ajahs and ranks, the Amyrlin seat, and serving her, the Keeper of the Chronicles. The cast includes heavyweights Rosamund Pike as Moiraine, Daniel Henney as her warder Lan, Alvaro Morte as Logain, and Sophie Okoneto as Swan, the Amyrlin seat who leads the Aes Sedai. The young cast of protagonists from the Two Rivers are Nynaeve, played by Zoe Robbins, Rand, played by Yosha Stradowski, Egwene, played by Madeline Madden, Perrin, played by Marcus Rutherford, and Matt, played by Barney Harris. Other supporting characters include Loyal, played by Hamid Anamashone, Tom, played by Alexander Wilhelm, Min, played by Kai Alexander, and Tam, played by Michael Mickelhatton. Some of the other Aes Sedai we will meet in the first season include Leandrin, played by Kate Fleetwood, Alana, played by Priyanka Bose, Liana, played by Jennifer Chion Garcia, and Karine, played by Claire Perkins. And there are so many more, honestly. It is a large, diverse, and exciting cast. Now, let's talk about who is involved in the production. Just as important is the showrunner, Rafe Judkins. Judkins is also a screenwriter, and he has worked on shows including My Own Worst Enemy, Chuck, and Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. But just as importantly, he's also a huge fan of the Wheel of Time books, and he's talked extensively about the personal impact they've had on his life and how he pursued this project long before it had even begun to become a reality. Rafe has also made a point of having a mix of perspectives in the writing room, including other fans of the series, but also some professionals who don't have a background in fantasy, to make sure that the show works for a broad range of audiences. He has also brought on a superfan and professional book consultant, Sarah Nakamura, whose job it is to educate the cast, crew, and members of the creative team on the extensive source material they are adapting. Let's also talk about the books the show will be based on. There are 14 massive books in the completed series, plus one prequel. The books were written by Robert Jordan, and the final 3 were co-written by Brandon Sanderson after Jordan's untimely death in 2007. The first book, The Eye of the World, was published in 1990, and the final book in the series, A Memory of Light, came out in 2013. The first season is likely to cover the main events of the first book, The Eye of the World, and it may include some elements of some later books, most likely some of the second book, The Great Hunt, or elements from the prequel, New Spring. That said, don't expect the show to continue to follow a 1 book per season outline. It is very unlikely that the show would ever run for 14 seasons. To give a better ballpark, Rafe Judkins said that he outlined what 8 seasons of the show might look like to cover the entire series before he started scripting season 1. But even that is an approximation, not a set plan. Many fans also want to know how close the show will be to the books. The short answer, if you have read the books and are concerned about this, is to expect some changes to plot specifics and many details. The goal of the showrunner is to stay true to the heart and the spine of the books, but the reality of adaptation requires changes to make a show successful. There is no short answer that fully addresses this question. It is one I have discussed and explored from multiple angles for many months on this channel. I'll also be doing another spoiler-free FAQ video soon that will address this question in more depth. For now, though, check out my other videos and think of the show as another turning of the wheel. It's not meant to film the books, but to be an imagining of how the same events might play out a little differently when the wheel of time turns and the third age comes around again. Be sure to leave me a comment, and please consider liking and sharing this video. And I will link some playlists that might be useful for you. So check those out if you haven't, and definitely be a subscriber because there is so much exciting Wheel of Time content coming up in the near future. And until next time, gird your loins, my friends.